Welcome, Black.
Welcome, Black. You are listening to the Seedz of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast,
where we discuss legacy, history, resistance, and forward movement. The revolution is live.
Welcome back.
Yes, we are.
And today we have a very special guest.
Very.
Our Baba Bilal
It's
Sunni-Ali.
our daddy.
It's our daddy.
Big up yourself. Baba Bilal.
In the building.
Yes. So I'm the last daughter of Baba Bilal, the last daughter of the Whirlwind, out of Baba Bilal and Fulani's union. Dr. Asantewa Sunni-Ali. I had to think about my name.
And I am Aiyisha T, Obafemi.
And I am Princess Mdaiyah Yisrael.
And I am Baba Bilal Sunni-Ali himself.
In the flesh. Welcome, Daddy. Yay. He's back. He's back.
Yes.
Yeah, because you made a couple of cameos, in the first season and the second season. Yeah. So this is a tradition here.
Right.
Okay.
Gotta have a little drop of pop in it.
Exactly. A little drop of pop. A drop of that's our new segment.
You know what I'm saying?
A drop of pop. It's necessary.
Right.
Since it is Black Music Month,
Yes.
we thought that it would only be fitting to have,
the musician himself.
Revolutionary music.
Yeah, we were thinking about, musical revolutionaries. And we were like, of course we're thinking about folks out there. And then we're like, wait a minute.
We got our own.
Our most favoritist musical revolutionary is like in the house. Yeah. It's our Baba. Yeah, so how you feel about that?
I feel wonderful about it because I think, I'm still a musician, and I had taken a break, and the doctor had told me to take a break, and I didn't take it. Then a couple of times while I was playing, I felt something said, "Oh,
take the break."
Take a break.
Yeah.
And one time I was playing at a place in Belize, and I invited this young brother who plays saxophone to come and play with me because he was at a bar in PG. His cousin owned the bar, and they would turn the music up, and he'd play along with the radio and play along with the DJ. So he came and he played, and just as I was went into one of those episodes, he kept playing. The audience never knew no difference.
Right.
About 6 months later, I reminded the audience of that date and told them that, that's why he's continued, he's continued to be there.
Nice.
So I said, well, that was good because nobody would have known it. And he just came on and took over. I sent him a horn that needed overhauling. He got it overhauled and continued to play it. He's down there playing my black sax.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Wow.
Now that's an honor.
Right?
Yeah.
What an honor.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, and he's getting ready to do his first recording. And he's gonna it's Coltrane is one of the saxophones that he's gonna be paying tribute to.
Nice. Look at that. That's a
Okay.
pleasure.
We getting it back.
Passing on it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Passing on the.
Oh yeah. Getting the black sax.
We gotta get it back. We gotta get it back.
Now, how do you feel about the fact that there is a month that they call Black Music Month?
At first, when I first heard about it, it was just like, every year, every few months, they was adding something. This is the month for that.
Right.
I was saying, wow, why June? I've never done anything special for Black Music Month. I've always recognized it. When I was on the radio constantly, I never did any special thing for Black Music Month. And in my career, I never booked any special shows or did anything special. In June. So,
It's another month.
yes, it's another.
For Black music, which we play every month.
Right.
All day, every day.
Every day, yeah, all
It's
year.
worse than February.
Right.
Right.
You know,
How can we contain?
yeah, how you gonna get everything
In 1 month, 30 days.
And it's not even 30 days.
Right.
Right.
Even on a leap year.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
It never balances out.
Right.
You know, never go to therapy.
That's important.
So I feel it's good that it's recognized and that a month is dedicated to it, you know, just for the sake of it. But I just did a panel at the Arts Exchange on June 14th called Art for the People's Sake.
I love that. Because that's that age-old question of like, you know, art for art's sake. But it really speaks to who you are, you know, and why we really wanted you to sit down for this conversation. Because you have always done art for the people's sake. You know, and I'm sure for you're the people too, you know, for your own sake. For our listeners who, you know, haven't heard of Bilal Sunni-Ali, like, can you talk about some of the art that you have created, some of the music you've created, what instruments you play? We know you are, you know, a vocalist, you know, you be out here singing these songs. Tell us.
Well, the first group that in life that I ever performed with was the Sankore Nubian Cultural Workshop in Harlem. It was the director of it was Sister Mariam Samad, who was the mother-in-law of my best friend Lumumba Abdul Shakur, and the mother of one of my best friends, Saida Shakur. You know, she was a twin, you know. And they, as you know, Lumumba and Saida had twins. You know? But the Sankore Cultural and Sankore Nubian Cultural Workshop was a workshop that dealt with stories, that dealt with ancient stories, some of the stories that you find in the Quran, and Mama Samad was a seamstress. She made dashikis. She said, I've heard her say that she invented the dashiki.
Okay. Hey, look, somebody had to start it. Dashiki ain't just come out of nowhere.
Every shirt's not.
I was about to say, and it sounds about right. A black woman created it.
Now we know.
Right.
So it's a little history for y'all.
She used to sew clothes, and she used to tell us. But one of the stories she would do is Suleiman and the Queen of Sheba, and how she was invited to Islam. So the stories would always like feature inviting people to Islam, and would always feature the clothes that Mama Mariam Samad made. You know. And she would wear, you know, she would create clothes and narrate the stories, and there would be people playing drum, and I would be playing flute, and that was.
So that's instrument number one.
Yeah. So that was, but that realizing that's not the first group
I was gonna say.
because I was about 17 when I joined that group.
Okay.
When I was 12 years old. When I was 12 years old.
What year was that? No, I'm joking.
What year was that?
18.
Let me see, that was maybe 1960.
Yeah.
1960 was, those you can, nobody can remember, but people watching can remember. 1960 was a very strange, it was one of those years they said the world was going like 2000 K.
Oh,
the world was going to end.
Yeah.
June 6th, the 6 month, 6th day of 1966.
Oh, wow.
And when the world didn't end,
Right.
they changed it, they moved it up to 1966. So
6 more years. 6 more years. You gotta keep it 6 days.
They kept that 6666.
Wow.
Wow.
The year before I was born.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they was there then.
Yeah. So, but in that year, we formed a group called the Symphony 7. There was 7 of us. Y'all may remember Tony Duncanson, who was the percussionist with Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson in the Midnight Band. Well, I met him in 1960,
Okay.
and he played clarinet.
Oh.
He played clarinet, and I played clarinet, and I played so good because I sat next to him and copied him. You know, he had been playing since he was like maybe 7 or 8 years old, and here I was 12 years old,
Just
sitting next to him, but not realizing then, but soon to realize before we had been friends for a year, that he was also a percussionist who knew a lot about African culture and about different rhythms. And his parents were good friends with the master drummer Babatunde Olatunji.
Oh.
And so we used to sing songs that we knew off of Babatunde's album, Drums of Passion, and you know, we'd be in the class beating on the tables and saying Akiwawa, Awakaye, Akiwawa, Awakaye. And we wouldn't just be making noise, we would actually singing African songs, and not just like a lot of people, you know, they would just beat on the table and holler, and, you know. But we knew songs, and we knew things about African culture that we shared with our peers and grew with our peers. And when we formed this band, the main music in the band was calypso music, because all of us had some connection to the Caribbean.
Okay.
Everybody in the band had some connection to the Caribbean, and didn't realize back at that time that was going to be like our whole life, you know, realizing that most of the people we knew, regardless of what they said at first or in what accent they said it in, that they had a connection, that they had a deep connection to the Caribbean, which for a lot of years our connection to Africa. So we played Latin music. Latin music was the issue then. In high school, they would have different social events. And at every social event, they would have to hire 2 bands. They would hire a rock and roll band, which would play, they wouldn't play rock and roll as we knew. They would play white rock and roll for the white students. And they would always have a Latin band that played for the black students, because you know, everybody identified with that Caribbean culture and with the mambo before the whatever they call it, the salsa. Before salsa became popularized. It's, you know, salsa is the mambo. So we was playing mambo and calypso and cha-cha-cha and merengue. We played all that music. The black people played all of that music because that was our music.
That was it. Absolutely.
So we would be the Latin band that they would hire sometimes. The Symphony 7 and their music from heaven.
All right now, at 12 years old.
Yeah, 12 years
At
old.
12.
Wow.
That's what
Powerful. Right. You ain't new to this. You sure to this.
Yeah, no, he taught me how to play the flute. I played the flute in middle school.
Okay. Very nice. I never had the discipline. I wanted to learn so bad, and I think
you and Ayana.
Yeah, I think I did 1 or 2 lessons with Daddy, and he's tough.
Yeah.
And I was like, I ain't ready.
I'm good on that.
And he told me that too. You're not prepared. I wasn't ready for it. But wow, so rich. And I love that every time we talk to you, You know, we say this all the time. It's a lesson. Yeah, we learned something new. Like I didn't like I knew you were playing for a long time, and there's this one picture. Hope maybe we can show it. With you, I think you're a teenager, and you have like 3 or 4 different instruments, like all in the picture.
Yeah.
I think you had the sax, the trumpet, and clarinet.
The sax, the flute, and the clarinet.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
You gotta find that picture.
Yes. So out of the instruments,
and in one of them, I have the saxophone and the clarinet in my
your mouth. Yeah. Okay. I think that's the one. That's the one I'm referring to.
I have older brothers, Uncle Bob, who was into music. He was maybe about 6 or 7 years older than me. So he had introduced me to this cat named Rasan Rosenkirk, who played 3 instruments at once. Wow. 3 woodwind instruments: the sax, the manzello, which is another woodwind instrument. See, the sax was invented by a man named Adolph Sax. They were looking for a woodwind instrument that was made of brass, that would have a brassy sound. So different people invented them. A guy named Stritch invented one. A guy named Manzello invented one. And Adolph Sax invented one. That became the most popular and the most copied.
Uncle Bob really knew the people.
Yeah. Right.
He was the.
Yeah. I was gonna say shout out to Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob.
Yeah, we have to shout out to our Uncle
Bob,
who is our ancestor now.
Yes.
Uncle Bob.
When I was 12 years old, my big brother gave me an album with called "My Favorite Things" by John Coltrane, which became it's my favorite and my favorite song right up until today, and one of my favorite songs to perform. And that's because the clarinet that I first had, it was a rented clarinet from the. It was a place right around the corner from us. No, it was right across the street from us. No, it was right around the corner because we lived in the projects. But
where was it now?
We lived in the projects, but
it was around the corner.
We moved across the street.
Right.
And when we moved across the street, this place was not across the street from us. It was just around the corner.
Right.
Yeah, called Rose Music, and they used to sell instruments and give lessons. And Mr. Elliot Rose, he used to come into the schools, and one day he would teach trumpet, one day he would teach clarinet, and he taught the various instruments that he rented to the schools to play. So they rented me a metal clarinet, which looked to me like a soprano saxophone that John Coltrane had. So so when Bob gave me the album, I was
okay, you was like, okay, I'm in here. Right, okay.
So, some people have the nerve to say that I remind them of Coltrane, but I can't help it. But
I be saying that
from the very inception of me starting to play,
right.
John Coltrane was one of my major influences. From one of my major teachers about the music was my brother.
So tell us how you met Uncle Bill.
Oh man, that hyphenated name, Gil Scott Heron. It was a name that we heard around the school. We didn't really know him, but we heard around him, Gil Scott Heron. This was at Odenville Junior High School, same school where me and Tony were playing. We were playing. He was writing detective stories.
Gil was?
Gil wrote detective stories at 11 or 12 years old. So it was strange because we didn't know, because he wasn't in our class. He was in a special class that they had for people who were mentally retarded, socially unacceptable for some reason. But he was in the class because he was from Jacksonville, Tennessee. He was from down south. And y'all experienced that coming from New Orleans to Atlanta. Put you back a grade because you
They don't feel like you're
Atlanta's on the move. They just say,
Oh, wow.
So Gil was held back in school by people. He was already an author.
Right.
You know, he was already. He hadn't just wrote
He had
one.
surpassed.
Right.
He hadn't just wrote one book. He was writing detective stories.
Wow.
You know? So that was before he, you know, that was before he became a poet. You know, and then when we was in the band, he told us that he knew us before we knew him.
Okay.
Because we was teenage
How old were
famous.
you?
Huh?
How old were you
When we
when
joined?
you met?
12.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Symphony 7 was popping,
Yeah.
and he heard of y'all before.
Right. He heard of us. We was famous musicians. You know, for teenagers, we were famous musicians, especially at that age of teenage.
Yeah, right.
You know, we was
And
famous.
this is Harlem.
This is the Bronx.
The Bronx.
Okay, this is the Bronx. Okay.
Yeah, this is the Bronx. Olinville Junior High School,
Okay.
number 113,
Oh, PS 113.
PS 113,
Okay.
on 213th Street and Bronxwood Avenue.
Oh, okay, right there.
Yeah, which was right up the street, about
Yeah.
6 blocks from the high school that I went to.
Mm-hmm.
But Gil and Tony, they went to an all boys high school
Okay.
called DeWitt Clinton.
Oh, okay. I know that one.
And then for a while, Gil went to a private school, you know, before he went to Lincoln University. And that's where Gil met, in continuing my playing, I met Ade Knowles and Charlie.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Uncle Charlie.
And they, we played with a group called Simba, Simba Drummers and Dancers, and often Mama Mariam Samad would have us in that show. Some of us played with the Nubian, with the Sankora Nubian Cultural Workshop, but then sometimes she would have the whole thing in the show, and it would be a pageant, you know, with drumming and dancing and African clothes, you know, and stories from ancient times, from our history, which was important for us to learn, that the history that we learn in the scriptures, you know.
Right.
Your Savior Sunday school stories was actually, you know, Black history. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we was, that's how I met Charlie and Eddie. Ade went to Lincoln University, where he met Gil again and told him about me. When he said the name, I said, wow, that name sounds familiar. You know? And so they sent me, I was in college at Soledad. You might have heard of Soledad Correctional Institution. I had some things that they said needed to be corrected. They said that I was, they described me as antisocial. They said I was antisocial and that I was it was strange, but they claimed that they was trying to tell other people not to associate with me.
Right.
That I was a Black Muslim communist, nationalist, hardcore ghetto type. That's the kind of thing. Oh, they said I was antisocial. So I said, well, I need to find some Muslim communist hardcore ghetto types to hang out with, who I can be social with.
Exactly.
And then so I began to, I found some. You know, and, you know, Imam Jamil was one of them.
Free Imam.
Yeah, free Imam Jamil.
Absolutely, free Imam.
So that's how me and Gil got back together. You know, from childhood
12.
to
Wow. So how old were you when you got back together?
22.
Okay. Wow. 10 years. 10 years.
And that's when you joined the Midnight Band?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they had a band called Black and Blues. Black and Blues. And Victor Brown, you remember, Victor Brown was part of that band. Victor Brown and, there was some other guys who never joined the Midnight Band.
But they were.
They were part of Black and Blues. And Brian Jackson and Gil Scott-Heron used to write music for the group Black and Blues.
Okay.
And Brian was playing the piano, and Gil played piano somewhat, but mostly was singing and doing poetry.
Right. He was the vocal.
Yes, never had. He said he never really had the idea of being famous and being a famous musician. Like we. But me and Tony had that idea.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Did you?
Yeah, we had that idea. I had told a story the other day when we had the Jazz for Shabazz concert about me being, because they had asked me to say the grace because it was, of course, sponsored by Ross Lamosse, the singing show. It was a meal before the concert, and they asked me to open up and bless the table because I was the oldest person. I was the oldest person in the room.
He was the elder.
Yeah, I was the elder. It reminded me of when I was the youngest person in the room. And the room was the Savoy Ballroom in Harlem.
Wow.
Where my mother, your grandmother, used to take sewing lessons at the Savoy Ballroom.
Wow.
When, got Fletcher Henderson, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, they would be doing their sound check on Saturday afternoon. Her sewing classes were, she'd have to drag little Bilal along. And I'd have to sit there and listen to all of this music.
Right.
When I was like 2 and 3 years old. I'm listening to the baddest cats in the whole world.
That's what I was gonna bring that up earlier. That I was like, "Ooh, the timeline is real."
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm sure that was foundational for you.
That helped.
I mean, we could only dream. I mean, we watch movies, about this period of time, and you were literally there. And the fact that the universe, everything was aligned for you to be there. And it's just no surprise that you are, who you are right now.
And I was there not because they was thinking he's going to be a musician one day, because I had to be somewhere. I was gonna say your mama, she ain't had no babysitter.
And you was the youngest.
Right.
Yeah.
And they all had something to do.
Right.
I was like 4 years later.
Yeah. I know the feeling. I know.
So that was like the beginning.
That was your foundation.
Foundation of me listening to the greatest musicians in the world at that time, and still,
Right, it hasn't changed. Right.
All of them. And he's created a music that represents all of the music of the last century.
And beyond.
Yeah.
Timeless.
Right.
Yeah. So you talked about John Coltrane. Like, who are some of your other favorites?
Favorite saxophonist.
Okay, now. I always thought it was saxophonist, but saxophonist? I'm saying that for the rest of my life.
Saxophonist. That was the term I heard. I can't remember. I don't remember. I can remember, and perhaps I will remember.
At the Cotton Club, when you was like,
No, the first time I went to the Cotton Club was because your Auntie Ebony was singing there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Drew him out.
Shout out to Auntie Ebony.
Well, we need like a scroll on the side of the screen joint, just explaining who all these people are.
Google all these names you hear me say. That's what I do.
Google it.
Like you heard it because I've done that at school. You taught that.
Yes.
Google. I tell them.
Then he told my class, Google it. Right. Don't ask me no questions. Google it.
Yeah. So Google Gil Scott-Heron. I go to places and people say, "Oh, Bilal Sunni, he used to play with Gil Scott-Heron," and people say, "Like, what's that?
Who's that?
What's
Who
that?
that is?
You know,
Right.
what part of history is that?"
Right.
But
Well,
you know,
some- yeah.
yeah, Google Gil Scott-Heron,
Yeah.
and Google Ebony Joanne.
Yes. You better.
Ebony Joanne.
You better. She's
Yeah.
a mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, the theater world.
So,
But you were talking about some of your favorites.
oh yeah, my favorite. Well, one of my favorites, Dr. Yusuf Latif.
Yes.
I began to. I studied improvisation with Dr. Yusuf Latif, and he became a big influence on me because I would go to this place called Slugs. I was big for my age always,
Yeah.
so I would get in, but then somebody would say, "Who this kid is?"
Yeah, you have a baby face. Right.
Yeah, I walk in, and then one of the things I noticed, that's where I first noticed that, you know, people made salat, because Yusuf would go out, and the band, I would always see musicians go out, you know.
Right.
You know,
And do other
they
things.
break, they go, you know, they would disappear.
Smoke break.
You know, but he would go back, and sometimes brother with him, Ahmed Abdul Malik, so another, but he was from Sudan, I think, but he was a Muslim, you know, so-called jazz musician, bass player, and he used to play with Yusuf Latif. And I could see he would tie up his head when he'd go out, and sometimes he'd still have the head rag on his head when he'd come in from making salat. And I said, well, these cats is different, you know. You know. But their music was different, you know. And I was attracted to that. And so they taught me the difference. The first time I actually went to a mosque, even though I hadn't heard about and known about the Nation of Islam and knew about Malcolm X, but I had never gone to a mosque. Speaking of Malcolm X, there's another story. Y'all got time for this story? When I was
It sounds like you gonna tell it.
when I was 13, what year was that? There's a famous recording of Malcolm X at a Unity rally. The Unity rally where Malcolm X, that famous recording, he was given the Unity rally. It was around the corner from where I was playing that day. And I was wondering, that was my first time ever hearing of Malcolm X. Yeah, I said, who is this guy? Gonna make me late for the gig. Wow. And then I heard on TV, I heard last night, you know, I heard him, and they had excerpts or something, he was saying, he said, they want to be like you. He said, well, your skin looks like gold to them. And I thought, man, that's that guy who was there, you know, telling niggas their skin look like gold. Black skin won't look like gold. You know? I didn't, because he made me late for the gig.
Wow.
But later on, at the moment, you know, it was.
Yeah.
But I later learned. Yeah. So I became very closely associated with Malcolm after that. Soon after that, and like I mentioned already, one of my best friends, Lumumba Abdul Shakur, father, Saladin Shakur, El-Haj Saladin Shakur. We call him, Lumumba called him Albert. And at first we just called him Albert because that's who Lumumba is. Yeah. And then we learned that Albert meant father, and then we still accepted it because he was like a father to all of us, you know. El-Haj Saladin Shakur, you know, and Mariam and Jamila Shakur, you know, they were because their son was married to the daughter of the daughter of Sister Mariam Samad and Brother Ahmed Samad, they were like, they was like the families, the elder Muslim families, And so that was, it was important. I see now, to have that coming up. A lot of young Muslims today, or even older Muslims, don't have that. They don't go back to their childhood when they talk about their introduction to Islam, and they don't know of families that they can talk about because besides them two, there were many others, and just like y'all were little children of a Muslim family, we were all. It was like several Muslim families that was well known. Most of them was musicians, and we was their children. We was the young people that hang out.
Well, while we're talking about the Shakur family, we said, we started this. It is June's Black Music Month.
Right.
So we can talk about our cousin Tupac, whose birthday is in June.
Right.
He was born
right in the middle.
His birthday just passed, June 16th. And our mother, Aiyisha Sunni-Ali, she transitioned on June 17th.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing vocalist.
Yes.
And it's just so many
Phenomenal.
And also June 17th, we spoke about him earlier. Uncle Sekou. June 17th was his 80th birthday. And, we just had his celebration of life on June 8th here, in New York. So, June is very special. For our family. And,
And even today also marks the transition of our grandfather, Day Below, and passed on this day in 1994.
Yes. And one of mommy's best sisters, Sister Courage, Mommy Ghani, my best friend's mom.
Wow.
So salute to
June.
But you were saying that Elijah played an instrument?
Elijah played guitar.
Yes. I never had the honor of hearing him play, but I do recall hearing him.
You saw the guitar in the corner.
Right, exactly. So you heard him play?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you ever play with him?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Wow. Amazing. So I know that there's a long, history timeline, and the book is forthcoming, as you can hear. So a conversation with Baba Bilal is a lecture, it's a history lesson, all these things rolled into one. If you can think about just your experience, is there any particular experience, like musically, that stands out for you, that you might call your greatest achievement, or something that you cherish and you hold and that you'll never forget?
No.
No, there's nothing like that.
There's one night in particular in 1968, April 4th, 1968, I believe, when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated. We had already showed the organization I mentioned earlier, Simba. We had already planned to have a show on April 6th, on the night of April 6th, which turned out to be the night that little Bobby Hutton was killed. The first Black Panther to be assassinated at the age 16. But anyway, we were doing a show that night called Black Feet, and it was a tribute to Malcolm X and John Coltrane. And so we made it a tribute to Malcolm X, John Coltrane, And Martin Luther King, because Dr. Martin Luther King had.
Which I can't even imagine the atmosphere.
Right.
Like the same day.
Right. So this is like, we didn't know Bobby Hutton was being killed on the other side of the continent.
Wow.
But what happened was at a certain point in the concert, the police walked into the auditorium. We were at Bronx Community College, and the police came in there, and they stopped everything.
Wow.
They said, the music going on here and everything and what's being talked about is very volatile. We have a very volatile situation in the street. We're going to have to call this event to an end. And we asked everybody to please file out, and go home. And, so we had police escorts.
They escorted y'all.
Well, my first time getting the police escort.
Not the last.
Not the last, but that was that's an experience that stands out to me, because it was like we were doing music, for the people to recognize our heroes of the day, of the time. Two had already given their lives, and this one was assassinated just days before that. Who everybody, it's like everybody didn't like John Coltrane. Everybody didn't like Malcolm X. But everybody loved, even people who didn't like Dr. Martin Luther King. Everybody loved him.
Right.
So when the police came in and stopped the show, that became, to me, that was like an honor to me. Wow. We're doing it so hard for the people that the police got to actually come in and shut the show down and send the people out. I sort of won.
That was a great one. That was a
You'll
great
take it.
Yeah.
You will take it.
Well,
This has been very enlightening as usual.
an honor.
Yes.
Honor.
Talk to
Really.
you.
Yes.
Always learn some new things.
Yeah.
And it's always just touching the surface.
Yes. I'm like,
Okay.
we need more. Yeah, we're going to get more.
But we'll bring you back. You know, that's our going thing, right?
Okay, I'll come back.
Oh, one thing we didn't mention, we didn't say Happy Father's Day, just last week to all the fathers out there.
Yes.
And those who are here with us and those who are with us in spirit.
Happy birthday to all of our juniors.
Baba Ahmed Obafemi, Happy Father's Day.
We miss you so much. Happy Father's Day.
Pull out a little Moscato for you.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day to Uncle Bob.
Yes. Uncle Bob, Grandpa Lajo,
Yeah.
Grandpa Robert,
Right.
Sekou, Uncle Matua.
Yes.
Bobby Curtis,
Day.
Muhammad.
Yeah,
Curtis.
All the fathers.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
And all the ones we didn't name, there was a lot.
It's so hard forever.
So we usually close our episode with what we call the Power 5. We probably should have made the Power 10 for you. But the Power 5. So we'll share phrases and or words, and we want you to respond with the first thing that comes to your mind. So, so recalling that experience, that was your, your preparation for this. So the first thing that comes to your mind, and the first word is whirlwind.
Look for me in the whirlwind. That's the first thing.
I was ready to
I see my face through the whirlwind. Reach out and try to grab my hand.
There you go, the remix.
Through the whirlwind. Do all you can to help your sister, woman, brother, man.
out for me.
Reach out for me.
Reach
Out
for me.
for victory.
Come on, fade out.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the first
One day we was I was preparing for a show because people asked me to perform, and I told them, well, I'm not performing. But I had Kalfani who could videotape me, so it would take me a half hour to get through that song.
Yeah.
He would put it together, so it was just like
Right. Shout out to Kalfani.
And one time, right at the close of that victory, my voice cracked.
Oh yeah. And he was
yeah. So you never hear that. You know, you never hear that. He probably still has it somewhere.
Oh, we saw it behind the scenes. Edits. So yeah, the first word was whirlwind. Now,
Yes. The next one, a book everyone should read.
I'll repeat.
Not the car.
Go ahead.
Look for
A
me
book everyone should read.
Look for me in the Whirlwind, which is the autobiography of the New York Panther 21. Some 50 years ago, when that trial was going, people was writing a note. Those who were on trial all contributed to the book. And then some years later, about 40 years later, those of us who were not on trial for various reasons, you had to look for me in the book because I wasn't on trial. Sekou Odinga was not on trial.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the story of Sekou Odinga. They need to make a movie out of why he was not on trial.
Right.
And Google it, so we don't have to tell that story today.
Yeah.
Google Sekou Odinga, find out why he wasn't on trial. But that's the book. That's what I think of when you say the book. Everybody should read.
Okay. Who is your favorite revolutionary?
My favorite revolutionary. Well, my favorite revolutionary is personal. Not that they were the greatest revolutionary ever, but my favorite revolutionary was your mother. Is your mother. Yeah, Fulani Sunni-Ali.
Wow.
My favorite person.
Oh.
And she was a revolutionary, so it all fits.
And a musician. Okay. So the next word is music.
Music. Wow.
First thing that comes to mind.
Music is the healing force of the universe. It's people, no matter what, people divide music into styles and genres based on the time it came out and based on who's playing it. But wherever music is played, it's a healing force. Wherever in the world or wherever in the universe is played, it's a healing force.
One good thing about music, when it hits, you feel no pain.
Okay, so the last one is, what is your prayer for the next generation?
Wow. This is a prayer for everybody in the world. prayer for you and prayer for me. We need each other. Yeah, that this next generation realize that we need each other. You know, we just had a conversation about that, talking about the younger generation. A lot of them who, you know, they got parents, they got elders, and they're out here acting like they ain't got nobody, and acting like they don't need each other. They act like they don't need each other, and they killing each other. You know, and killing themselves. They act like they don't need life, because they don't know what life is all about. And that's what, you know, my prayer is that they learn, you know, what life is all about, what family is all about, what it means, you know, that community and family, and that they understand that and stop killing one another. You know. Yes. Without courage and dignity, what would it mean to be free?
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
On that note.
Yes. You have been
literally
listening
on that note
to the Seedz of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast. Be blessed.
Look for me in the whirlwind.
Hey revolutionaries, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Seedz of Revolution, Daughters of the Whirlwind podcast. To join the family, like, subscribe, and share with who you think should be a part of the fam. Comment if y'all want us to cover specific topics or if you have questions. Peace.